Good morning, dear students of HSC first year. Welcome back to my online class. I am Amir Sadat, Assistant Professor of English. Today, I will deliver a lecture on Unit 4, Lesson 2, and the title of the unit is Traffic Education, and the title of the lesson is Traffic Capital of the World. From the very title, you may guess that today we'll discuss on traffic jam and its problem in our country. And Dhaka's infrastructure does not match the scale of its population. Just 7% of the city is covered by roads, whereas in other countries, 25% of the city is covered by roads, especially in Paris and Vienna. And Dhaka also suffers from the absence of a planned road network. There are no planned networks in Dhaka city. For this reason, a lot of traffic jam we have to face. And there are 650 major intersections, but only 60 traffic lights are working. This is also very pathetic in our country. And traffic condition of Dhaka city is very bad and very terrific. Here traffic jam exists from early in the morning till to the night. And for unnecessary and unexpected traffic jam, city life of Dhaka has become most time-killing and most slow. And alleviating traffic congestion is a major challenge for us. This congestion we have to overcome, and there are a lot of reasons of traffic jams in our country. And there are poor infrastructure, narrow lanes, a lot of pedestrians, slow rickshaw, slow vehicles, on the other hand high-speed vehicles, and these all are the causes of traffic jam in our country. Today I will discuss the text thoroughly, and after that I have made some MCQ type of questions, some clause test with clues, clause test without clues, and some open-ended questions. For better understanding, I have made a slide presentation. So let's go to the slide presentation and we will enjoy today's class. Well, dear students, today we will study on Unit 4, Lesson 2. But before going to discussion on text, let's have a look on today's class outline. From today's class, you may know Unit 4, Lesson 2, and the title of the lesson is The Traffic Capital of the World. And I will read the text thoroughly with explanation and annotation. Then there will be a summary of the passage. After that, I have made a vocabulary for you. Then choose the best answer, that is some MCQ type questions for your practice. Then I have made a clause test with clues for your practice. Then clause test without clues for your practice. And after that, there are some open-ended questions which will help you to understand the passage better. Here, Unit 4, Traffic Education, and the title of the lesson, Traffic Capital of the World. Okay, here is the text. Read this article written by Michael Hobbs, titled Welcome to the Traffic Capital of the World. You know that Michael Hobbs is a foreigner. He comes to Dhaka city, he comes to Bangladesh, and he faces a lot of problems, especially the traffic jam of Dhaka city. Okay, now let's start the text. Dhaka's infrastructure doesn't match the scale of its population. Just 7% of the city is covered by roads, compared with around 25% of Paris and Vienna. That is, where Paris and Vienna have 25% road, then in the same case Dhaka has only 7% road. Dhaka also suffers from the absence of a planned road network. So we need a planned road network to avoid the traffic jam. There are 650 major intersections, but only 60 traffic lights, many of which don't work. It is also very pathetic. There are 650 major intersections, but we have only 60 traffic lights, and among them some traffic lights don't work. And that means the police force
isn't enforcing driving or parking rules. They are in the intersections directing traffic. Here, dear learners, you can see a picture of traffic jam of our Dhaka city. And the cost of Dhaka's traffic congestion is estimated at 3.8 billion a year, and that's just the delays and air pollution, not the less tangible losses in quality of life. Paradoxically, the poor infrastructure is one of the reasons why the city is growing so fast. So there is another reason for our traffic jam is poor infrastructure of our road, poor infrastructure of our city, and the city growing so fast. A lot of people now dwelling in Dhaka city, so traffic jam is increasing day by day. Without roads or trains to whisk them to the suburbs, Dhaka residents have no choice but to crowd into the middle and set up slums between high rises and walk to work. Here, dear learners, you also can find a picture of our overbridge or our overway, and this is not sufficient for our building, for our Dhaka city. And then there are the users of the roads, and besides pedestrians, the narrow lanes are shared by bicycles, rickshaws, scooters, motorcycles, CNGs, buses and cars. So a lot of vehicles are running in our way, in our road, and they are slow vehicles, and there are some fast vehicles. I would like to say that bicycle, rickshaws, they are the slow vehicles, whereas scooters, motorcycles, CNG, buses and cars are fast vehicles. So this is another cause of our traffic jam. All these modes take up a different amount of space and have different top speeds. And most people you talk to in Bangladesh blame the traffic jams on the rickshaws. Dear students, you can see a picture of a traffic jam which is occurred for a rickshaw. So a rickshaw is a slow vehicle. Its speed is very slow, a lot of people say that rickshaw is the main cause of traffic jam of Dhaka city. And there are too many of them, and they say, and they drive so slowly that they trap the cars, buses and CNGs behind them. Here they means the rickshaw pullers. There are too many rickshaw pullers, there are too many rickshaws on our road, and they drive so slowly that they trap cars, buses and CNGs. And the government is under pressure to designate some lanes as car only, to build wider roads and overpasses, to take the slow traffic out from the front of the fast. So the government is now trying to designate a special lane for car, and the government is trying to take the slow traffic, take the slow vehicles out from the road. And this brings us to the third reason why the traffic problem is so difficult to solve. All of these fixes sound easy and obvious, but they come at a cost. 1.5 billion people drive rickshaws for a living, plus another few hundred thousands own and repair them. So I repeat the line, 1.5 million people drive rickshaws for a living, plus another few hundred thousand own and repair them. So a lot of people of Dhaka city depend on rickshaw. So government efforts to get people out of rickshaws and into buses and trains are going to attract huge opposition. And here you can see another picture. A lot of rickshaws are just get stuck on the road, and the rickshaw is a major cause for the traffic jam of Dhaka city. Even increasing bus capacity is more complicated than it sounds. A 2009 World Bank analysis found 60 separate bus companies in Dhaka. I repeat, a 2009 World Bank analysis found 60 separate bus companies in Dhaka. So a lot of bus companies in Dhaka, you see, and since the bus companies compete with one another and the drivers have every incentive to drive aggressively and take more passengers than the buses can hold. So this is another reason a lot of buses in our road of Dhaka city, and what's more, the public transport isn't all that public. Public transport isn't all that public, and many of the bus companies are owned or linked to political parties or powerful trade unions. So this is another problem. A lot of owners of bus companies are linked with political parties and some powerful trade unions, so government cannot check them. Government efforts to unify or regularize the system would amount to a hostile takeover of all of these small companies. The obvious solution is to separate the rickshaws from the cars, from the CNGs, give each of them lanes and lights according to their top speed, and crucially make car drivers pay the cost of taking up more space on the roads. But that, politically speaking, is unrealistic. Car owners are a small part of the population, but they are the most influential, and every year Dhaka adds an extra 37,000 cars to its already overcrowded roads. So there is another problem. The car owners are a small part of the population, but they are the most influential, and every year Dhaka adds an extra 37,000 cars to its already overcrowded roads. So this is another reason for traffic jam. And dear learners, here you can see a traffic jam, and in this picture you can see that a lot of cars just get stuck and they block the roads. Think about all this from a Bangladeshi politician's point of view. Any attempt to solve the traffic mess means annoying the poor, the middle class and the rich all at once. Thanks to the donors, in 2012 the government announced a 2.75 billion plan to build a metro rail system and a 45 million bus rapid transit line from the airport. For residents of Dhaka, it will come as a relief. Here is a good news for Bangladeshis that a metro rail system will be introduced in Bangladesh. And here, dear learners, you can see a picture of metro lane. If metro lane and other lane of our roads can be repaired or can be made according to the plan, then I think traffic jam will be reduced. Whenever I asked my Bangladeshi colleagues, here I means Michael Hobbs, who is a foreigner, who is a tourist who comes to Bangladesh, and Michael Hobbs asked his Bangladeshi colleagues how long it would take to get somewhere. They always gave two answers. Number one, without traffic, maybe 15 minutes. And number two, but with traffic, who knows? It means that if there is no traffic jam, then it will take only 15 minutes to reach your destination. But if you got stuck in a huge traffic jam, then you cannot say when and how you will reach your destination. And here is another picture of huge traffic jam in Dhaka city. Now vocabulary. Dear students, you can write down the meaning of the words in your khata, and you know that vocabulary is very important for HSC level. And now I will start. Enforce. Enforce means jordar kora. Compel observance of or compliance with a law or rule or obligation. Intersection. Intersection is a noun and its Bengali meaning is পরস্পর ছেদন বা রাস্তার সংযোগী স্থল বা আমরা যেটাকে বলি রাস্তার মোড়, a point at which two or more things intersect, especially a road junction. Then whisk. Whisk is a verb. Its Bengali meaning is দ্রুত ও আলতোভাবে কাটানো, take or move somewhere or something somewhere suddenly and quickly. Then suburbs is noun. Its Bengali meaning is উপশহর, an outlying district of a city, especially a residential one. Designate is a verb and its Bengali meaning is নির্দেশ করা, and to make or point out, indicate, show, specify is the meaning of designate. And then complicated is an adjective. Its Bengali meaning is দুর্বোধ্য, and consisting of many interconnecting parts or elements. Intricate is another meaning of complicate. Now compete is a verb. Its Bengali meaning is প্রতিদ্বন্দ্বিতা করা, and strive to gain or win something by defeating or establishing superiority over others. So these are the some important words which is very necessary to you for your better understanding. And now I have made some MCQ type questions, that is, choose the correct answer from the alternatives. Question A. The annual cost of traffic congestion is estimated at number 1 3.6 billion, option 2 3.7 billion, option 3 3.8 billion, and option 4 3.5 billion. And I think the answer is option 3.8 billion. Then the annual cost of traffic congestion is estimated at 3.8 billion. And I request all my students to read the text carefully, because if you read the text carefully, then you can easily answer this type of MCQ type questions. So read the text first, then try to answer the questions. Question B. The police force of Dhaka failed to, option 1 control the traffic, option 2 perform their duty properly, option 3 look after the benefit of the people, and option 4 enforce driving or parking rules. So I think option 4 is the correct answer, enforce driving or parking rules. I repeat the question. The police force of Dhaka failed to enforce driving or parking rules. Question C. One of the major reasons for the rapid growth of Dhaka city is, one of the major reasons for the rapid growth of Dhaka city is, option 1 narrow roads, option 2 too many people, option 3 poor infrastructure, and option 4 excessive traffic on the roads. So I think option 3 is the correct answer. Poor infrastructure is one of the major reasons for the rapid growth of Dhaka city. Then question D. Why do Dhaka city dwellers crowd in the middle? Why do Dhaka city dwellers crowd in the middle? Option 1 because there are no roads or trains to move them to the suburbs. Option 2 because they love being on busy roads. Option 3 because all their activities take place here. And option 4 because they can find recreation here. Here the correct answer is option 1 because there are no roads or trains to move them to the suburbs. So why Dhaka city dwellers crowd in the middle? Because there are no roads or trains to move them to the suburbs. Then question E. The narrow lanes of Dhaka are mostly occupied by, option 1 rickshaw, option 2 buses, option 3 scooters, and option 4 bicycles. Here the correct answer is rickshaws. The narrow lanes of Dhaka are mostly occupied by rickshaws. So here is the solution of question 1, multiple choice, which I have already discussed. You can write the answer of the my MCQ question in your khata. For question A, option 3 is the correct answer, 3.8 billion. For question B, option 4 is the correct answer, enforce driving or parking rules. For question C, option 3, poor infrastructure is the correct answer. For question D, option 1, because there are no roads or trains to move them to the suburbs is the correct answer. And for question E, option 1, rickshaw is the correct answer. Dear learners, here are some more MCQ questions for your practice. Question F, what could be the closest meaning of the word scale in the first sentence? In the first sentence of the passage, what is the meaning of the word scale? Option 1, skin of a fish. Option 2, an instrument for weighing. Option 3, relative size of something. And option 4, to climb up something steep. Here, option 3 is the correct answer. Here, scale means relative size of something. Now, question G. The word slum in 9-10 can best be replaced by option 1, a small room. Option 2, a place which is not healthy. Option 3, a dirty place. And option 4, an overcrowded area where poor people live. Here I think option 4 is the correct answer, an overcrowded area where poor people live. So here the word slum means an overcrowded area where poor people live. Question H. What is the percentage of the city covered by roads? Option 1, 8%. Option 2, 7%. Option 9%. And option 4, 10%. Here I think option 2, 7% is the correct answer. In our country, 7% of the city covered by roads, whereas in Vienna or other countries, 25% of the city covered by roads. So here is a big difference between Dhaka and other countries of the world. Question I. Most people blame the traffic jam on option 1, buses. Option 2, cars. Option 3, rickshaws. And option 4, various carts drawn by hawkers. Here I think rickshaw, that means option 3, rickshaw is the correct answer. Question J. Why are the cars, buses and CNGs trapped? Option 1, because of narrow lanes. Option 2, because of too many vehicles. Option 3, because of the indifference of the traffic police. And option 4, because rickshaws in front of them block their way. So I think option 4 is the correct answer, because rickshaws in front of them block their way. That is why cars, buses and CNG trapped, because of rickshaws in front of them block their way. Question K. What pressure is the government facing? Option 1, to assign separate lanes for cars only. Option 2, to discuss alleviating traffic jam. Option 3, to take the help of international organizations. And option 4, to build new roads. Here option 1 is the correct answer, to assign separate lanes for cars only. So what pressure is the government facing? The government is now facing to assign separate lanes for cars only. Question I. Why can't the government take a desperate step to remove rickshaws? Option 1, because many people ride on rickshaws. Option 2, because it will face huge opposition. Option 3, because other transports are not safe. And option 4, because rickshaws are easy to access. Here option 2 is the correct answer, because it will face huge opposition. Why can't the government take a desperate step to remove rickshaws? Because it will face a huge opposition. Here is the solution to more MCQ questions. I would like to request the students to write down the answers in their khata. Question F, option 3 is the correct answer, relative size of something. For question G, option 4 is the correct answer, an overcrowded area where poor people live. For question H, option 3 is the correct answer, 7%. For question I, option 3, rickshaws is the correct answer. For question J, option 4, because rickshaws in front of them block their way is the correct answer. For question K, option I is the correct answer, to assign separate lanes for cars only. For question I, option 2 is the correct answer, because it will face huge opposition. Now question 2, fill in the gaps with suitable words from the list. It is also called clause test with clues. Here are 10 clues to fill the blanks. Work, middle, covered, rules, quality, reasons, first, scale, plan and congestion. To fill the gap correctly, at first you know the meaning of the clues, and with the help of the meaning of the clues and with the help of the grammatical rules, you can fill in the blanks correctly. And you know that this type of cross test with clues also come from your text. Let's start. And Dhaka's infrastructure doesn't match the gap A of its population. So which will be the correct answer for gap A? I think here scale is the correct answer for gap A. I repeat, Dhaka's infrastructure doesn't match the scale of its population. Just 7% of the city gap B by roads compared with around 25% of Paris and Vienna. So for gap B, covered is the correct answer. Just 7% of the city is covered by roads compared with around 25% of Paris and Vienna. Dhaka also suffers from the absence of a gap C road network. So which will be the correct answer? Here planned is the correct answer for gap C. Dhaka also suffers from the absence of a planned road network. There are 650 major intersections, but only 60 traffic lights, many of which don't. Gap D, which will be the correct answer? Work is the correct answer for gap D. I repeat the line. There are 650 major intersections, but only 60 traffic lights, many of which don't work. So it is very pathetic for our country. That means the police force isn't enforcing driving or parking gap E there in the intersections directing traffic. So which will be the correct answer for gap E? Rules is the correct answer. Rules. So I repeat the line. That means the police force isn't enforcing driving or parking rules there in the intersections directing traffic. The cost of Dhaka's traffic gap F is estimated at 3.8 billion a year. So which will be the correct answer for gap F? Here congestion is the correct answer for gap F. Dhaka's traffic, the cost of Dhaka's traffic congestion is estimated at $3.8 billion a year, and that's just the delays and air pollution, not the less tangible losses in gap G of life. So which will be the correct answer for gap G? Quality is the correct answer. So not the less tangible losses in quality of life. Paradoxically, the poor infrastructure is one of the H, which will be the correct answer for gap H, one of the reasons. So here reasons is the correct answer. I repeat the line. Paradoxically, the poor infrastructure is one of the reasons why the city is growing so gap I. So in gap I, first is the correct answer. Growing so fast, the city is growing so fast. Without roads or trains to whisk them to the suburbs, Dhaka residents have no choice but to crowd into the gap J, set up slums between high rises and walk to work. So what will be the correct answer for gap J? Here middle is the correct answer for gap J, middle. So I repeat the line. Dhaka residents have no choice but to crowd into the middle, set up slums between high rises and walk to work. So here is the solution to question 2. I'd like to request my students to write down the answers. For gap A, scale is the correct answer. For gap B, covered is the correct answer. For gap C, planned is the correct answer. For gap D, work is the correct answer. For gap E, rules is the correct answer. For gap F, congestion is the correct answer. For gap G, quality is the correct answer. For gap H, reasons is the correct answer. For gap I, first is the correct answer. And for gap J, middle is the correct answer. Dear learners, here question 3. Complete the following passage with suitable words. This is also called clause test without clues. There will be no clues for you to fill in the blanks. You have to fill the blanks with your own way, with your own words, and following some grammatical rules. Here is the text. People gap A, Dhaka city, gap B, that the international organizations should work on traffic, gap C. So which will be the correct answer? At first you have to guess which word is befit here. People gap A, I think in. People in Dhaka city, gap B, tell that, you can write tell that the international organization should work on traffic jam. Traffic jam in our city cannot, gap D, described in language. So which will be the correct answer for gap D? You have to guess, you have to imagine. I think here B is the correct answer. Traffic jam in our city cannot be described in language. Cannot be described in language. Here one has gap E, spend 10 minutes to go 3 or 4 feet. So which will be the correct answer for gap E? You can write 2. Here one has 2, spend 10 minutes to go 3 or 4 feet. That means you have to spend 10 minutes for only 3 or 4 feet. It is very pathetic for our country. The ambulance gap F impatiently spins blue light uselessly. So which will be the correct answer for gap F? You can write driver. The ambulance driver impatiently spins blue light uselessly. And for gap G, poor rickshaw passengers breathe being tired. So for gap G, you can write the poor rickshaw passengers, breathe being tired. The three-wheeled motorcycles, while plying, gap H, the jam-packed, gap I, look like a slice of pie. So which will be the correct answer for gap H? I think in is the correct answer, and for gap I, streets is the correct answer. So I repeat the line. The three-wheeled motorcycles, while plying in the jam-packed streets, look like a slice of pie. Jam-packed streets look like a slice of pie. And these are covered with pieces of gap J, pieces of metal. So here is the solution to question 3. You can write the answer in your khata. For gap A, in is the correct answer. For gap B, Tail is the correct answer for gap C. Jam is the correct answer for gap D. B is the correct answer for gap E. 2 is the correct answer for gap F. Driver is the correct answer for gap G. D is the correct answer for gap H. In is the correct answer for gap J. Streets is the correct answer, and for gap J, metal is the correct answer. Now, dear learners, I have made some open-ended questions for you, that is some short questions, and in this short question you will get 2 marks for each questions, and you have to write 5 questions, so the total marks is 5 into 2 equal to 10 marks. Okay, here is question A for you. What do you think is the most important cause of traffic jam in Dhaka? I repeat, what do you think is the most important cause of traffic jam in Dhaka? And here is the answer, and I have made a sample answer for this question, and you can write according to your own way. You can follow my answer, and you can also write the answer in your own language. So here is the answer. The poor and insufficient infrastructure of Dhaka city is mainly responsible for the severe traffic congestion. So this is the major cause. Poor and insufficient infrastructure of Dhaka city. Poor and insufficient infrastructure of Dhaka city is mainly responsible for the severe traffic congestion. Only 7% of the town is covered by roads. Again, there is lack of planned road network. Lack of planned road network is very necessary to remove traffic jam. There exist 650 major intersections in the city, but only 60 traffic lights, and most of them are inactive. And even the police force is passive, which contributes more to the crisis. Now, question B. Who are the users of the roads, especially the narrow ones? Who are the users of the roads, especially the narrow ones? And the answer is, the roads of Dhaka are mostly used by pedestrians, and besides, other users are bicycles, rickshaws, scooters, motorcycles, CNGs, buses and cars. So the roads of Dhaka are mostly used by pedestrians. So narrow lanes are used by pedestrians and also by bicycles, rickshaws, scooters, motorcycles, CNGs, etc. Question C. What are the arguments put forward against banning rickshaws? I repeat, what are the arguments put forward against banning rickshaw? This is also very important question, and the answer is 1.5 million people drive rickshaws for a living. On top of that, there are a few hundred thousands more who own and repair them. So it will be a futile effort on the part of the government to drag people out of the rickshaws and into buses and trains. Any attempt to do so will draw immense opposition. So a lot of rickshaw is a very pathetic condition in our country, and the rickshaw pullers depends on rickshaw. So we cannot drain out, or we cannot stop rickshaw puller to drive rickshaw on our city road. Question D. What happens to the inhabitants of Dhaka in the absence of proper traffic system? What happens to the inhabitants of Dhaka in the absence of proper traffic system? Very important question, and the answer is, poor traffic system make Dhaka city dwellers suffer intolerably. As a result, they crowd into the middle of the city, are forced to set up slums between high-rise buildings and walk to work. Question A. How much area of Paris and Vienna is covered by roads, and how does it differ from that of Dhaka? It is also a very important question, and the answer is 25% of the cities of Paris and Vienna are covered by roads, whereas in Dhaka only 7% is covered by roads. So it is also very pathetic for our country that in our city Dhaka there is only 7% roads are covered with roads, but in Vienna and in Paris 25% of the cities are covered by roads. So thank you very much, my dear students. From today's class you have learned a lot. Today we have discussed Unit 4 Lesson 2, the traffic capital of Bangladesh. And then we have studied some vocabulary. We have practiced some MCQ questions, clause test with clues, clause test without clues, and at last some open-ended questions. I think this type of class will help you to continue your study at home, as we cannot open our educational institutions for coronavirus. But I request all students not to waste their time. They have to study, they have to continue their study, and this online class will help you to continue your study at home. So stay home and stay safe. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.